What's this? It's a 4Runner. And guess what we're doing today? We're installing a PrinSu Design roof rack on a 4Runner. Let's get to it. So one of the things we've noticed is on YouTube, there isn't any 4Runner installs on the PrinSu Design roof rack. There are lots for Tacomas, but not for the 4Runner. The 4Runner's got a little bit more things you have to do to it. You have to drill some extra holes. You already have your rack at the back that is there, but at the front, there's no extra holes. So Stan and I, we're gonna mount his roof rack on his 4Runner. We got some work to do. So let's show you what needs to get done. So first thing, of course, you have to take off is your existing rack that comes with your stock 4Runner. So this guy's gotta come off, so does the other side. So let's show you how that's done.
Okay, so this plastic cap has to come off. There's 4 tabs on the inside. This cap has to come off outwards, not upwards. So I'm going to take a rag. The tabs are about 1/4 and 3/4 in there, so I'm just going to put a screwdriver underneath here, put a rag there so I don't scratch my paint, and just pop it off. And so you have 2 tabs off. The rest of the tabs should come off just like that. Bolts on top are 12 mil. They do have a little bit of Loctite on them, so when I first took them off, they're a little bit snug. Two bolts front, 2 bolts back. Once those are removed, the rack's going to come off just like that. Okay, you'll notice I've taken the wind stripping off here already, but there's your pre-drilled bolt holes. What we're going to have to do next is when we mount the rack, we're going to pull this strip off, and we're going to have to drill a hole approximately right there to mount the front of the rack.
So hey, what he's done, he's already installed the 2 side pieces. So this is made out of aluminum, and it's powder coated with aluminum extrusions in the middle. So the instructions tell you that you install the back, front, and then the middle. And the thing is, you'll see some long slots and some tiny slots. The tiny slots is where your 2 bolts go into. Now with your kit, you'll get 9 crossbars. So you'll see that the small slots, there's actually 9 of them. Well, 18 because it's a pair, but there's 9 slots. There's a 10th bar that goes for your front little wind deflector. That one's a little tricky, so we're going to show you what needs to be done.
I've got this partially assembled. You can see here's the wind deflector that came with the kit, and I've got one of the extruded metal bars in the background. It's a little bit tricky. So the method of putting this together is that you're going to put all your bolts in there. They come with a T-bar that's going to fit inside the extruded metal.
Is it going to go this way or this way?
It's going to have to turn
okay,
and slide when I slide the bar. You'll see I've already got this together, but we've got all the bolts, all the nuts and bolts in place with the T-bars in the back. I barely got these threaded. It's about 1 thread just to keep them on, and then you slide your extruded metal in there. You're going to have to push these out.
Okay. See what you're saying, boy. Back it up a bit.
I've just got to, these are still a little bit tight. I've loosened them off a little bit.
There you go.
And as you can see, they slide right into place. This fits very snugly, and then we can take your Phillips screwdriver,
level,
and tighten these up.
Yeah. Make it flush.
Okay. Flush on both sides. We're going to take a Phillips screwdriver and tighten this up. And then we'll attach it to the front of the roof rack.
One of the things that, in order to make this perfectly square, is he had to use an actual square to get it going. It's just, if it moves on you, it's hard to get the screws started, the bolts started to get inside the extrusion. So get yourself a square, square it up, do your 4 corners first, then you can freely go ahead.
Yeah, as you can see, I've got this perfectly squared up. It did take a little bit of moving around. When I first put it together, it was not square, so it just took a little bit of positioning, and you want to get it square before you start mounting it on the vehicle.
In the instructions, they tell you to only assemble the back, the front, and the center bars so that when you put it on your roof, it's not as heavy. So you can find that extra hole that you have to drill in the front. If you have everything on there, it just makes it too heavy to work with. So lessen the load, don't put them on yet, put the 3 on first, or sorry, your 4, because you got your wind deflector if you want to put it on, but that can go on last. let's do that first. Let's find the holes that we need to drill, and then we can put the rack on.
These bolts are very short, and it does take a little bit of patience to get this all fit together. Like I say, it's 1 or 2 threads on the T-bolt, or you're not going to have room to feed the extruded metal bar in. Now there is room to slide this up and down. To start, I'm just going to put this at the highest position just before we check the fit up.
So now we've got a couple sets of spacers. So this is the shorter one right here. You got another one that's about, I don't know, what do you say, 2-3 millimeters taller.
Quarter inch?
Quarter inch. So depending on which vehicle you have, I guess it depends on the model that you'll need to fine adjust which height you want. So that's what we're trying to determine here. Okay, so one of the things we just figured out is that those spacers are a little tiny bit longer. They go in the middle, because if you don't put them on, these brackets here, they're gonna hit your paint. Longer spacers go in the center. When you're installing your rear crossbar, make sure you'll see a single hole over here, or one bolt, sorry. Then the other one here. The reason why you want this to be as far back as possible is because of your shark fin antenna won't fit. So your rack's gonna sit on the antenna. So this bar here, as far back as you can go.
Okay, so now we've got the roof rack on top. We've got bolt holes, bolts loosely in the back 8 holes, the factory mounts. Right now we're gonna mark for the front holes. So I've left the rubber in on the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the rubber so we know where I'm going to have to cut the rubber. And I'm going to lift the rack up and I'm going to pull the rubber out. Oh, ouch. And then I'm going to mark the metal where we're going to have to drill our hole. Okay, so we've lined up, we've marked where the drill hole has to go. I'm going to take my peen, and what do you do with a brand new vehicle? You hit it with a hammer. Check. So we're going to drill a pilot hole. I got a quarter, who knows what I got.
Okay, we just drilled our first hole, and just so you know, on the 4Runner, that is some thick steel. So make sure you have yourself a really good brand new bit when you go to drill that hole. It's a good thing we only have 2 holes to drill. Okay, so Stan is drilling a 3/8 hole right now in the roof of the 4Runner. The intent is that we've got these bolt plugs that go inside the hole. Now, when it starts to feel tension, as the bolt is threaded in, it's going to expand. That's why there's little cutouts on the sides. It's basically like a drywall plug. It will expand and tighten down as you get tighter on the roof rack. hand. Silicone, drop it in there, and it fits nicely. We also put silicone in the front, what do they call them? Hole plugs, in the plugs, so they don't move around on us, and it seals underneath too. So we want to get 100% seal on this thing when we're done.
Little dabble do ya.
So what Stan is doing now is he's replacing the rubber weather stripping that was inside the channel in between the stock rack that was here. The only downside is that you're going to have this big space with nothing, because that's where the clamps of the rack went down into the channel. So he's got shorter ends here.
That's my goop.
Got to get some goop. Ow, that's my finger. So there you have it. PrinSu Design 4Runner RoofRac installed. The only thing that we ran into troubles with is the front two bolts that we had to drill, put the plug in. We couldn't use the lock washer because of that extra thickness, just to get that first thread caught in the bottom of this plug right here. Once we got it to bite, it starts to tighten down. It expands the plug right up. So PrinSu, maybe ½ an inch longer bolt is all we need, so we can actually add the lock washer on there. But we've got some silicone in there now, so it'll bite and it'll stay. That looks kick-ass.
Cheers.
Cheers.